Hi book friends, this is Kat and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is my wrap-up video for August. So I participated in 3 readathons in August, and how I'm going to do this wrap-up is going to be a little different. I normally go through how many books I've read in a month, and I go through the star ratings and end with my 5-star rating book. But since I did End of Summer Jam Mood Readathon, the hosts came up with 9 different questions based off of the order that you read your books. I, of course, read more than 9 books, so I definitely finished, the readathon. But how I'm going to do this is I'm going to do what Alma did. I really liked how she did her video. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through like the first book I read for the month, then the second, and so on and so forth. And then kind of tell you what the rating was for that, as well as the Christian fiction rating. So since I've read more than 9 books, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna rotate and book 10 will be for prompt number 1, and then 11 for 2, and so on and so forth. So this might be a little chatty, a little lengthy, but we're gonna go with it. And as far as the other readathons, I mean, I completed my readathon challenges for Keep Me in Suspense readathon. I got all of those. The Prairie Trail readathon, I finished it. And the Retoldathon, I did finish all 5 prompts. So yeah, so it was very successful in my reading this month. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right on in with question number 1. Question number 1 is, how did this book made you feel, and talk about everything? So I've actually written all my answers down in this book, so I'll be looking down and telling you about it. For this prompt, the first one that I read is Sarah Plain and Tall by Patricia McLachlan. And so this book is about a mail order bride, actually. Her name is Sarah, and she answers this, I guess, newspaper ad for a wife. And so she comes to the prairie lands, and she basically is kind of going to stay for a month or so and see if she kind of wants to marry the man and essentially adopt these 2 kids. And so it's a very short story. It's a children's story, and I really enjoyed this book. This book made me feel, I said, it was a very wholesome read. I said, first off, a mail-order bride, how interesting. I've never read a mail-ordered bride book before, like theme book. Second, I said the kids' point of views were perfect. I love seeing, through their eyes. I thought for such a short book, it really had some depth to it, and I will definitely be continuing the series. And so I actually rated this book a 5-star. So this actually is my favorite book of the month, which is very surprising that I would give a children's book like such a high rating, first off, and then it being my favorite book of the month. So yeah, so, and usually it's because I don't normally read children's books. That's the only reason why, not because it's a children's book. But anyways, okay, so number 2, I read The Butterfly and the Violin, and the prompt says, or the question says, describe the setting. Did you like it? Would you want to visit? So the premise of this book, guys, is there's this woman in Austria who gets sent to a concentration camp. And that is the setting. And I said, no, I would not want to visit this place. I said the setting was in a concentration camp. At least one of the settings was, because it's a dual timeline. And so I said, no, I wouldn't want to visit It's such a dark time in history, and I would sob uncontrollably. I had a lot of thoughts about this book, and it is part of my Read Around the World vlog that came out, and so this is for the setting Austria. So if you want to hear more about my thoughts, check out that vlog. But the second timeline, you follow this woman in the present day, and she's trying to hunt down this painting of essentially the woman in the past. And so the setting for that was California, New York, and Paris. And so I would say I would want to visit Paris and New York. That is kind of like on my list. So, but yeah, okay. The next book I read was Chasing Shadows by Lynn Austin, and this is also part of the Read Around the World vlog. This is set in the Netherlands. So the question of this says, how long has this book been on my TBR, and how do you feel now after you've read it? So real quick, this book has been set in World War II, and you follow 3 perspectives through World War II. And one's a mother, one's a daughter, and one is a Jewish girl. So this book, I said, has been on my TBR since last month, so it would have been like July. And I said I feel relieved because it was a vlog that I put off, so I'm glad to have read it, and I thought it was a great book. So yeah. And oh, I forgot to give you the rating for this one. So this is at a 4.5 star rating, and it is a 3 for Christian fiction rating. So very emotional book. Okay. Oh, I don't know if I gave you the rating for the Butterfly and the Violin, but that one was also a 4.5 star rating and a 3 for Christian fiction rating. It is very emotional, intense. I really like Christy Cameron's writing, but yes, such a dark subject matter. So prompt number 4 is, or question number 4, did the description live up to what was inside the book? Did it give too much away? So this book I read was The Princess Game by Melanie Sellier, and this is a Sleeping Beauty reimagining. And I said, yes, the description lived up to what was inside the book. I really enjoyed the aspect of a sleeping princess, because that was pretty neat how Melanie Sellier wrote about like a sleeping princess. And then there was, a mystery, and the summary did not give too much away. So the sleeping princess essentially is like, she was like a very intelligent girl, and instead of like falling asleep, essentially like her intelligent mind just is the thing that is asleep in a way. She had to respond in a way where it's not looked as intelligent, very airhead almost. So, okay. Number 5, the 5th book I've read was Everywhere to Hide, and number 5 is A Free Space. Tell whatever you want about this book. So I said this book was really unique, and there's a lot of talk about like political and economics, especially. That is not a subject matter that I personally enjoy. I felt like it was too leaning towards classism a lot in this book, especially when it talked about colleges, and the main character was talking about, Ivy League, and just how the system's a bit corrupt, and there is, she brought up class a lot. To me, it just got annoying because it was constantly brought up. But other than that, I liked the premise. I mean, this woman has face blindness, which I've never read about before, and she witnesses this crime, and she can't see the perpetrator's face, so she can't recognize it. She's constantly like afraid because she's like, what if he comes after me, you know, and I can't recognize him. So yeah, that's basically what I have to say about the book. I did give this book a rating 3-star and a 1 for Christian fiction. The next prompt says, what is the first sentence of this book and what do you think about it? And for that, I read Lulu's Cafe by T.I. Lowell. First off, this book is intense and there are trigger warnings for those who have experienced a miscarriage, 1, that's a big one, and 2, domestic abuse, physical, verbal, and emotional. Let's just say this first half of the book was intense with that. So if that is something that you guys are not comfortable with, just know that that's what this book is. The second half, it gets better. So the first sentence says, donuts. Donuts make everything better. And I really do think this sets the tone for the book because the main character, Leah, she has an eating disorder or like an eating issue where she masks her pain by just eating a lot of junk food. And, you know, this book does center around that and, you know, going through like her pain and everything. And then when she meets Lulu and works in the cafe, you know, that's dealing a lot more with food as well. So I think that this sentence really does set the tone. So Lulu's Cafe, I gave a 3.5-star rating and a Christian fiction rating of a 1. Okay, so the 7th book I read was The Charm Bracelet, and I actually DNF'd this book. As you can see right there, it is, that's where I stopped. So I ended up writing another book in this place that I actually completely finished. But I think what I'm going to do for this video is I'm just going to answer number 7 for The Charm Bracelet, as well as the actual book that I finished. So I'm just going to tweak that. So talk about the main character of this book. Did you relate to him or her? Why or why not? So for The Charm Bracelet, you follow 3 women. You have grandmother, whose name is Lolly. You have the mother, whose name is Arden. And you have the granddaughter, whose name is Lauren. Lolly, she, you know, loses her mother to cancer, but her mother gives her a charm every year for like her birthday, any holiday, but you know, every charm has a story. So Lolly continues that tradition with her own daughter Arden and her granddaughter Lauren. Lolly is known to be very exuberant, very like a very colorful personality. She lives life to the fullest. She is known as a town as a lady who has like red hair and very colorful clothing, and she has dementia. Then you have Arden, who is the complete opposite. She doesn't really wear a lot of color, and she, you know, I think has mentioned in and out that she didn't enjoy kind of growing up with her mother Lolly because she would wear super bright clothing and it would draw attention, and she didn't like that essentially. And so she has this job where I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it's like she's on this website, magazine website or website in general, and she's supposed to like type up articles but with links. It's a very technical job, and like the links are supposed to send you to like references. So it's like it's kind of like that, I think. So her daughter goes to college, and I think her daughter is getting a bachelor's degree in business from what I can remember. It's been a while, but the daughter, Lauren, wants to be an artist, but she knows that's not what her mom would want her to be. Long story short, they go and visit Lolly because they're concerned about her mental state, and so the story kind of stopped there for me. So anyways, I did not connect with either of these characters. I just felt like the writing was all over the place. It was a little choppy. I did not enjoy um, like the characters as much. I felt like they were younger than what they're supposed to be. Like Lauren responded in such a childlike way where I felt like she's not this college student. Like it was almost written like she was a preteen. To me, that's what it felt like. Lolly is using terms like pop culture references like YOLO and all this other stuff. And I guess like that was the point, to try to make her seem hip and young. But that's not something I really like to read, is pop culture references a lot in my books. So yeah, and I don't know. That's basically all I have for this book. So the other book I read was The Princess Search, and that's what I actually wrote here on my journal, in my journal. So this says the main character was named Evie. I said she was a social outcast. So basically she was an orphan and she was a social outcast. And I said in some ways have related to her. She always felt like she never really belonged to one group because of her growing up situation. And I did say I have felt her feelings before in many different ways. I mean, one way was being a Christian growing up. I mean, I did grow up in church and everything, but I felt like I didn't always fit in with the teens at my church, just because for starters, grew up very Pentecostal, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the type of lifestyle I had very early on was very restricted and very like do's and don'ts. And just my personality is a perfectionist. So a lot of times growing up within the youth, especially since we moved to a non-denominational church and there was a church in between that, even, I just never felt like I really fit in with the group, because it always seemed like everybody else was kind of going through their rebellious stage and they were more loose with certain things. And to me, I was very like by the book and very strict. So, but then when I would hang out with my friends at school, some of them weren't Christians or different religions. And again, it was like that, not really fitting all the way with that either. So anyways, I have felt like that before. All right, number 8. Name a good quote from the book. And so the book for this one I had was a Twisted Tale anthology. This was a 500+ page book, guys, and it was on ebook, and this was on my phone. And so I had to like divide it up throughout the Readathon, which was like a week long. But I'm glad I got it done. But I said, honestly, I can't think of any quote from this book. After I was done, I returned to the ebook and I didn't have access to it. But I also said, this pretty much sums up my experience with the book. It was just an okay book, guys. That book, the rating was a 1.5 star, and I feel like that was a little generous, honestly. It was just a bunch of short retellings of what ifs in the Disney universe. And honestly, there were some that I skimmed through, but I may have liked one out of the whole book. And I think there was like 16 different ones in there or something. So yeah, anyways, I didn't have a quote from this book. All right, number 9 says, who would you recommend this book to, even if you didn't even love it? And technically, the book I finished for this one was a study guide. Okay, so I've been doing this book through the month. So technically, I finished it next out of my books that I was reading. This is the Wasurbi Bible Study Series. This is Ephesians, Gaining the Things That Money Can't Buy. So I was doing this along with reading Ephesians. And I mean, I finished it, but I honestly think that this would have been better if I had done it with a small group, maybe. I think if you want an in-depth Bible study, like I would still recommend this to anyone who wants to like deep dive into like the book of Ephesians, and you want to do this with a small group, go for it. To me, I rated it like a 2.5 star, and it was just okay. And the Christian fiction rating is a 3. Almost done. So after that, it looks like the next book that I finished was Red Arrows, and this is by Jessica Cal, and I forgot who the other author is, but there's the picture. And so let's go back to number 1. And number 1 says, how did this book made you feel and talk about everything? Okay, so this book, it is a reimagining of Little Red Riding Hood. Now, this is a second book in the Fragile Fairy Tales or something fairy tales, I'll put it there, but it's right after the Snow Queen one. And so this one you follow Little Red Riding Hood, Red, and she is basically on the hunt to find the wolf that killed her grandmother. She wants revenge on this wolf. And then you also kind of follow the events from the first book. So this book deals with shapeshifters, and I really did like this book, like the plot. The plot was so interesting, like how these like reimaginings of everyone's fairy tales. Now, the thing I did not like about this book is the spice. I didn't realize, the first book had no spice at all, like from what I can remember. This book does have spicy makeout scenes, and there are like at least 3 times the characters basically almost go all the way, but every time that happens, someone walks in on them, so it's kind of like this awkward, like cringe moment. That's the downfall. Like everything else was just so good, like the plot, the reimagining, like I couldn't put it down because that's how much I liked it. The only thing is though is that, and that's not something I like to read, and I don't know if I'm going to continue this series because I looked at the 3rd book, and the 3rd book, it does talk about how it, like they're going to have like more spicy scenes, I guess. And the 3rd book's about Belle, and that's unfortunate. So even though like the reimagining was great, the plot was great, it's just not a book for me. I'll put the rating right here. I didn't come up with the rating yet. So it is The Apostle's Sister by Angela Hunt. That's where I'm at. I'm on page 158, almost halfway. And guys, I really did try, but I DNF'd this book. So number 2 says, describe the setting. Did you like it? Would you want to visit? Now this setting is in Tarsus, but later on it goes to Jerusalem. I have been there before. I've been there twice before. I mean, maybe I'd go again, but yeah, that answers the question. Now, I do want to talk about this book, though, a little bit more. I did DNF it, guys, and I've had kind of like mixed feelings about the author's work, I guess, in biblical fiction. I know a lot of people like her. I think she's not an author for me, and I've said it before, and then I decided to give her a try again because I said, technically, I only tried 1 series by her that was biblical fiction. And so this is part of a different series. So maybe it was just that series was just not for me. Let me go ahead and try this series. And I think this one kind of confirms that I'm just not a big fan of her biblical fiction. That's just me though. I know she's loved by a lot. So anyways, basically this book follows a girl. She's Saul's sister, and it really talks about her growing up under his shadow a little. And off the bat, I did not connect with her at all. She was very annoying to me, like a little whiny teenager. And I kind of pulled through though, because I was like, you know, maybe she's gonna grow and everything. And she did grow a bit, but you know, it was kind of hard for me to want to pick up this book and read just because I just was not connecting with her as much. Saul, I get why he was written the way he was, and I think it really does set the stage for him later on in the book. I guess I didn't really connect much with him either. What did it for me was there are some detailed scenes. There was a miscarriage scene in here that was hard to read, and then there was like a death scene involving like giving birth, and it was a hard read. So there were also some other things, like there were some historical things that were interesting, like learning a little bit about the Jewish customs, a little bit of what the Torah students were learning. But again, it was the characters, and then it was just those two scenes I just didn't enjoy, and they were too detailed. So anyways, I decided just to put it down. The last book for this month I read was Her Mother's Secret, or A Mother's Secret by Gabriel Meyer. And the third prompt says, how long has this book been on my TBR, and how do you feel now that after you've read it? So this one, I can't really remember how long it's been on my TBR. I feel like I added it this year, but I've been trying to read Gabriel Meyer's backlist, and she's written a lot of like love-inspired books, and this one was set in the same small town as like a lot of the other ones that I've read. So I am happy that I read it. This one talks about a woman who lost her mom, and she works at this house that her ex-boyfriend's uncle owned. When her ex-boyfriend left, the uncle let her stay on, and that's because, and it says in the synopsis, she had twins from the ex-boyfriend. And so technically they're family. And so the ex-boyfriend comes back, he's gonna sell the house, and he finds that his ex-girlfriend's there, and you know, he still loves her and everything, and then he finds that she has twins, and the story ensues from there. So I thought this was a really cute small town read, and I did enjoy it. So I will put the rating here when I figure out the rating, but I literally finished this like yesterday. So yeah, okay, so those are the books, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. Bye guys.